Baby. Hey, I suppose if you guys need to know anything about me, it is that um, I love musicians and artists, but I hate the system. I suppose if that's enough credentials to be here. Um, in terms of why we all here today, I think everybody kind of gets the message by the setup, but this is Julian Assange is on his last stand right now, right? And when it comes down to the speakers and the artists here today, these are people who understand what that means for us and what that means for freedom in general. I'm going to be talking to you guys all throughout. Me and Drew are going to be co-hosting, and I really want you guys to take the time to really look at some of the names on these flags over here, and really understand. These are journalists. These are Palestinian journalists that were killed. And in terms of the point here, I think we need to realize that this is a point of focus for government that turns into tyrants. This is a very real problem for them when it comes down to people who are willing to speak and speak up and speak out. Julian Assange, this isn't just one person going down. This is a precedence being set right now, and a message going out to all journalists who want to speak out and may ever want to speak out in the future. And with that being said, I want to first introduce you guys to the organizer. No, I thought you were gonna introduce. Okay, so David. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, okay, change it up a little bit. This is that background elevator music playing a little bit. One second. All right. So our first guest and our first speaker is one of America's most tireless and wide-ranging investigative journalists. He has altered the independent media landscape, both with his weekly radio program, Alternative Radio, 38 years and running, and his books with Noam Chomsky, Iqbal Ahmed, Howard Zinn, Tariq Ali, Richard Wolff, Arundhati Roy, and Edward Said. His latest books are Culture and Resistance, Retargeting Iran, Chronicles of Dissent, and Notes on Resistance. His forthcoming book from Haymarket in March 2024 is with Arundhati Roy, and it is called The Architecture of Modern Empire. David lectures on world affairs, imperialism, capitalism, propaganda, and the media and global rebellions. And I'm going to introduce you guys to David Barsimian.
Hello, brothers and sisters, comrades. Welcome. So good to see you all. While we're here, honoring Julian and what he represents, thousands of miles away, people are being slaughtered. Why do I mention that? Because we, as Americans, are enabling that. The U.S. government is enabling mass murder in Palestine, in Gaza. So always keep your eye on that issue. Now, I saw here journalism is not a crime, but I'm a failed poet. So, except when it's in the New York Times, journalism is not a crime. And they have the audacity to put on their masthead all the news that's fit to print. But we know that they occlude and omit so much of the news that is fit to print, but does not fit within their hegemonic narrative. of America is the greatest country on earth and is dedicated to freedom and democracy and all the rest. Enough is enough. Who said that? Many people. But just today, the Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese, said enough is enough. Return Julian Assange back to his native Australia. Al Jazeera, which I hope some of you watch, has called this case the most important press freedom case in the world today. Julian Assange is a symbol of what the First Amendment is about. It's not cuddling up to people with power and, kissing their bottoms, etc. It's about going into the nooks and crannies in the dark shadows where decisions are made by people much more powerful than we are, but who want us to believe the malarkey that they spew forth 24/7. So the media are a big part of this issue on what gets reported and what doesn't get reported. And that's why Julian has been the site targeted for relentless persecution and prosecution. I'm really angry about it, that this government is spending time to put this guy into jail. They should be honoring him, for Christ's sake, not dishonoring him. 7 years in the Ecuadorian Embassy, 5 years in the notorious Belmarsh Prison outside of London. Hasn't he suffered enough? And what was his crime? Telling the truth, exposing U.S. war crimes. If we have one thing to thank Julian for, is for all the WikiLeaks investigations that he released to the public, as a good journalist would do. I wish I could have done that. But he should be celebrated and honored and not threatened with prosecution. And as we speak, possible extradition from Britain to the United States. Where is the liberal Obama, the liberal, Secretary of State, and Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, and Hillary Clinton and Obama? And this started under the liberal Obama in 2010. Don't forget that. We all like Barack, but there's problems with the entire ruling class here. When anyone rocks the boat too strongly, they're going to pay a price. And I can't think of anyone that's paid a higher price than Julian Assange. So look at these photographs. Remember what's going on in Gaza. That's the corporate media on their way to this rally. They're running a little late, there's too much traffic downtown. But I just want to conclude, that's an applause line, with someone that, a fairly young guy you may know of, the 95-year-old Noam Chomsky. This is what he has to say. If you assume there is no hope, you guarantee that there will be no hope. If you assume there is an instinct for freedom, that there are opportunities to change things, then there is a possibility that you can contribute to making a better world. Let's contribute to making a better world. Thank you.
Thank you, David. All right, and I thought that was very important in terms of the idea of media entities that pretend to be on our side and simply don't report on a failing system. I think we all want to keep that into account, because a lot of people do have that tendency, I've noticed. Now, next up, we have our organizer here. I'm introducing you guys to Kendra. Now, she's the reason why we're all here, and is really just a pioneer in terms of actually what's happening here today and what's happening with Denver and Julian Assange in general. Kendra.
Hey everyone, thank thank you so much for being here. It's great to see everyone here. A lot of people I recognize, that have joined us for our rallies through for the past 5 years. And it means a lot. As you can see, we'd love to have a bigger crowd. I'm happy to see at the Palestinian rallies there are some huge crowds out there, and that's great to see. But we need to remember that had we listened to Julian Assange, over a decade ago, he exposed these plans for Gaza, right? So he exposed these war criminals who have been left unpunished, but who are left, this is what happens. They're left to commit war crimes without any, completely unimpeded. So, my morning started today at 3:30 a.m., which is, and I woke up to, on my Twitter, the live feeds, seeing that Julian Assange wasn't able to attend his extradition hearing today, and also wouldn't be attending by video link. So keep in mind, this is Julian Assange. This is WikiLeaks, 100% truthful publications, over 10 million documents that they published. They're the only news organization that has that record. All right, and he hasn't attended one of his own hearings in person since 2021. So he is ill. He was declared immediately when he was in Belmarsh a psychological torture victim by the UN Rapporteur on Torture, and that was on 2 separate evaluations. Niels Meltzer evaluated him, and then one of his colleagues did, and they both came to the conclusion that he was psychologically tortured. And that's from years, from a decade of just being trashed in the media and having no recourse, being everybody, the entire country flipped out, being locked down for 2 weeks, right? This guy was locked down for 8+ years, no sunlight, no doctor's appointments, anything. So this man is suffering, and he has suffered to bring us the truth about our government. We have a responsibility to our 18-year-olds, to our military. We have a responsibility to know what's actually happening in those wars and what they're being used for. And that is, that's our responsibility to know that. And so I just hope everybody here understands how important it is that you are here, and understands how important it is when you see our numbers that we have got to speak out while we still can. Because as Julian Assange said, this is not about him. They're coming after him to get to us. There's 1 count of Computer Abuse and Fraud Act. The rest of it is 17 counts under the Espionage Act against a foreign Australian journalist. All right, he's not even an American citizen. People in our country say that he committed treason. What a bunch of bull, right? So thank you for standing up for Julian Assange. We have a lot of great speakers here today. Know that our group here is completely nonpartisan. We welcome everybody. We welcome all political ideologies. This is the fight so that we can fight, amongst ourselves. Those are going to be the heydays. What's happening here is a chop at the root of the tree of liberty. This is tyranny. It's about to get dark. So we need to speak up. We've got postcards back here. Please grab one. It's to sign on to House Resolution 934 that's in the House right now to drop all charges against Julian Assange. We've already met with DeGette. We need to pressure her. We need to call her. You should have her on speed dial. That office should be sick of us, and we need to speak out while we still can. So thanks again, everybody, and free Julian Assange.
Kendra. This is everyone's fight. Make it clear. Make it known. And if anything, I hope that's what our next performer does. And this is a musician who calls Denver his home, and a good friend of mine. I'm introducing you guys to Mike Chappelle. Mike Chappelle, everyone.
That's it. All right. Hi, everyone. So, I've been thinking about this a little bit before I start. This is we're building this one at a time. I'm very upset about it. I'm very upset. I've been doing a lot of research the last week, catching up on stuff. This is god awful, but it's going to be one person at a time building it. We've built this so far. It's stronger. I know we're small, but we were less, the last time. We're going to build it, and we're going to keep going. Journalist walking the empty streets of New Baghdad, broad daylight, camera film in the bag, thumping blades, chopper approaching. Men look up, not realizing it's the last thing they'd be seeing. Gunship circles, back around.
Light them all up.
Opens up a 30 millimeter, the unarmed men scatter to the ground.
Come on, fire. God damn it, Kyle. Sorry. Oh yeah, look at those dead bastards.
Blood, body parts, they're being shot to hell, crawling, trying to find some shelter, maybe hoping for some mercy that was not to be.
From a distance, you hear the voices on the tape watch as the wounded try to crawl to help.
A van taking kids to school pulls up to help the wounded and the dying.
But when help arrives,
Come on, let us shoot. You're engaged. 1-8. Clear. Come on. Oh yeah, look at that, right through the windshield.
Bradley vehicle arrives to mop up, I guess. It drives over one of the dead or dying journalists, cutting him in half.
Yeah, just drove over a body.
Bradley vehicle
even
arrives.
from high above, the harsh reality becomes evident as the troops that arrive find 2 children wounded. You see them carry their small bodies and call for help.
Hey, I need to get the brass to drop ramps. I got a wounded girl. We need to take the rest of mine. Oh, it's their fault for bringing their kids to a battle. That's right.
Chopper keeps filming, documenting, but the evidence is buried deep until it's seen by 22-year-old Army analyst Chelsea Manning, who passed it on to Julian Assange.
In this video, I think you see the corruption of pilots and the military by war itself. So you see these young pilots acting like they're playing video games, only the high scores they are getting are with real human lives.
Oh yeah, look at that, right through the windshield.
Here comes the story of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. This is a ballad of his persecution.
Facing 175 years in prison.
Assange is the man the deep state want taken down for doing what, in his place, you and I wish we'd have done.
Julian Assange will likely not see his lawyers until the day of the hearing.
Julian published collateral murder video. It's on YouTube now, and it's reached far and wide. And if you haven't yet, go see it with your own eyes. Knowing the risks, Julian stood tall and strong against the empire of lies. That's why I want Julian taken for a ride.
I ask President Obama to do the right thing. The United States must pledge before the world that it will not pursue journalists for shining a light on the secret crimes of the powerful.
Guantanamo, Libya, Afghanistan, death squads, overthrowing governments, spying on allies and their own citizens. Obama, Trump, Biden, no difference.
Party politics in the United States is something that everyone has to get away from. This creation of two polarities by different elites that then suck up all the political energy in the country.
And then there's some odds and ends stashed away in Vault 7.
The anti-secrecy group says it's obtained thousands of files.
The CIA is equipped with a variety of hacking tools to crack into phones, cars, computers, even smart
recently
TVs.
began releasing a massive trove of secret CIA documents exposing how the agency has developed tools to hack into and spy on principal phones, computers, and televisions all over the world.
The CIA plots to kidnap Julian in a snatch operation, or maybe a shootout, a Kennedy-style assassination. They want Julian's head on a spike in the middle of the square to strike fear in honest journalists anywhere who might dare.
Torture is being used against Julian Assange to intimidate the world, to show them, if ever you get the idea, to disclose our secrets and to expose our dirty laundry to the world, this is what's going to happen to you.
But it's the lapdogs of Britain first grabbed Julian, put him on ice in the black hole Belmarsh Prison, where he sits alone days on end awaiting extradition to a U.S. show trial in East Virginia's jurisdiction, where brave souls slowly fade into oblivion, where verdicts are all determined in advance, whistleblowers never stand a chance.
I feel like Julian's life might be coming to an end. It's been 10 years, 10 years of breaking someone down, of trying to destroy his life. And it's a well-known pattern, whistleblowers, people who expose the powerful, they destroy them.
It's no exaggeration to say freedom of expression dies with Julian. To see a truth teller so obviously framed can't help but make one feel ashamed. To live in a hypocritical, warmongering wasteland, a sadistic, sociopathic, murderous system that's declared war on journalism.
This is not about left or right in politics. We can unite on this. Please tell everybody that you know that they have to side with Assange and fight against the extradition. If they tell you, I would rather fight for the environment or against animal cruelty or gender equality, tell them. They are about to take every right away from you. You will not be able to fight for any other cause. We are talking about the fundamentals here. We must fight against the extradition. We must save Julian Assange.
All the war criminals in their suits and ties are free to drink martinis and watch the sunrise, or for having courage, risking his life, putting his dreams, his future, his family aside. Julian is slandered, tortured, stuck inside.
We can all have particular brands of politics, but I say it's all bankrupt. And the reason it's all bankrupt, and all current political theories are bankrupt in particular lines of political thought, is because actually we don't know what the hell is going on. And until we know the basic structures of our institutions, until we know that, how can we possibly make a diagnosis? How can we set the direction to go? Until we know where we are. We don't even have a map of where we are. So our first task is to build up the intellectual heritage that describes where we are. And once we know where we are, then we have a hope of setting course for a different direction. Until then, I think all political theories, to greater and lesser extent, of course, are bankrupt.
Now you and I are the last hope of this brave man. His freedom, his very life, is in our hands. Let us raise our voices. Let us be the ones to give him back some of the time he's done. And if but only to preserve our own humanity, we've got to do our best. We can't let Julian die. We must set him free. Here comes the story of Julian Assange, the man the authorities want cut down for being the #1 champion, truth teller in the world.
Thank you, Mike Chappelle. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Drew McClellan. I am a Colorado artist, musical artist, and lyricist, and happy to be out here assisting with this whole thing today. It is really great to see such a crowd around. This is one of those issues that does really bring together people from many different walks of life, and I'm sure we are exactly that. Continuing to spread the word and get something so simple delivered out to the rest of the world. We the people deserve the truth, and this gathering today is really special in the name of Julian Assange. Thank you. I am here to introduce our next speaker, who goes by the name of Jacob Luria. Please put your hands together.
Hi everybody. How's it going? Thank you everybody for coming out here today. This was an issue, man, that I feel like I've been pretty passionate about for the last couple of years. There is a group called End the Damn Wars, and they needed someone in Colorado to help with a rally they were doing across the nation. This was years ago, years before Ukraine came up and Israel and other things where people started paying attention. And so the question we constantly got asked was, and what wars? No one knows about the military bases in Africa and other places like that. And Kendra was one of the first people who signed up. And I think brought a whole bunch of people out and filled me in on Julian Assange. Kind of heard about it, didn't really know the depth. But ultimately, a couple people have gotten to the root of the issue, and that really is the truth. And the truth sometimes is not fun, and unfortunately, it still has to be faced. And you know, our government, all governments around the world, ultimately work off of the money that they take from people, and that money goes toward things that people don't know what it is, and other places. And if you ask someone, you know, did you know we sold tons of weapons to Saudi Arabia that they've been using in a civil war in Yemen, most people really don't know those things. And groups like the CIA and other groups that act with essentially their own jurisdiction with no way to check them. You know, for a quick example, if you don't know what MK Ultra is, it was in a secret experiment done by the CIA for decades, testing LSD on unsuspecting people, and when they were pulled in front of Congress, 70 to 80% of their documents have been burned and shredded, and to this day, no one will ever know in the history of America the full extent of the truth of that. But we need to be able to. We're at a point where these guys, and especially in Washington, we're at the point now where we just elect our rulers for them to do at whim whatever they want. And our president, these people are our diplomats across the world, but they act in a way that is sometimes just utterly atrocious and won't explain themselves. We don't even have a point where we have, you know, someone who comes out and is just honest about the militarism, and it's like, we're doing this for this reason, and if people don't like it, too bad. That would be awful, but it's always put up as this just thing. And I recently read, want me to hold this? Okay. I recently read some of Calvin Coolidge's 1925 inaugural address, and he's sort of, I feel like, an unsung president. But this was not long after World War I, the Great War. And he talked about that ultimately, America needs to be a uniquely American identity. And what that meant to him was diplomacy with our neighbors, open trade, and peace. Not being warmongers, not establishing a world order where supposed to open the world, but ultimately is either people see us as the alpha dog that they can back up, or we are the dog that rips people apart. We are living a different world now. After, you know, the time after 9/11 changed a lot. I had this argument with my dad. We were talking about China, but ultimately the point was, someone like me, 33, a millennial who is hard to know in every aspect what the truth is, we need to just pull this stuff back and audit it and figure out what we're doing and who our allies need to be and what we need to be doing in the world. Because my wife and I are trying to have kids, and I want a safe world to bring our children up to. I want to be able to explain to them what the truth is, and for America to be that shining hill on the sea that so many people do see us. And the people of America are what we are. We're not our government, we're not warmongers, we're none of that. We are individuals coming together because we recognize that natural rights like the ability to speak your mind, freedom of speech, is so important. That's why it's listed as number one, right? Because you have your own mind, and people have to try so hard to try and take that away from you. And Most people don't have the courage that Julian Assange does. But there is some courage to showing up today and to calling your representative and being a complete thorn in their side. And if Julian Assange ends up back in America for trial, then we will go and we will fight for him and we will show the rest of America what we need to do. I wear this shirt out in public a lot, and I am surprised at the amount of people who respond really positively about it. We did a banner hang over I-25. There's a lot of support out there, but there's so much going on, and people have their lives, and people are, you know, understandably either struggling or figuring out things or making changes. It's not always 50% of people who are going to push an issue, but only 3% of people need to do it. And there can be 3% of America that stands up and fights for Julian. And I hope you'll be one of those people. Thank you.
One more round of applause for Jacob, please. Jacob's absolutely right. You know, this is a huge free speech issue. We are very fortunate to have that in our immediate existence, you know, and as they say, the Second Amendment's there if the first one falls through, and I don't really want to see the second one holding us up full time. Maybe I'm the only one on that, I don't know. Anyways, you guys, have we done any chants yet? No? You guys do it? I say Julian, you say Assange?
Yeah.
Or a free Assange?
Yeah.
I say free, you say Assange? Free!
Press!
Free!
Press!
I say free, you say press! Free!
Press!
Free!
Press!
Free!
Press!
Free!
Press!
We got Sleepy Ray coming up next to do a little bit of speaking of his own. Give it up for him.
I say I do poetry, but usually I just talk shit on the mic. So nobody's on to me at the open mic chat. No, this is great. Okay, this first one's called Seppuku. It's a form of ritual suicide that originated with Japan's ancient samurai warrior class. Once bright-eyed, I cradled stories in my palm. Cluster of truths laced with journalists' calm. The mic was my scepter, the pen my sword. Dreamt of battles with words that simply would not be ignored. But whispers slither through the chambers of power. It's not your place, they hiss. This isn't the hour. I ask of the soldiers who lie cold in their grave. Quiet, they hiss. You best behave. Inquires on scandals that scream through our streets. Silence, they make open threats to close my tweets. Leaks that would flood the public with light. Shush, they insist, as they lead humanity further into the night. Bridges and roads crumbling under our feet. Pause, they demand, a safe distance from the expanding cracks of our concrete. I probe on the graft that's clear in our sight. Halt, they order. We need the narrative tight. Queries for homes of the homeless, heartbroken. Cease, they declare. Let the finance determine their throne. I challenge the tales of grown men's vow games. Judge not, they scold, or you'll be the one in chains. In a failing system resigned not to making good on its pledge, Julian Assange decided to fall on his sword, and now I ponder exactly how close I am to the very same edge. Thank you. Alright, this next one's untitled. In the land where truth is a perilous creed and the messengers fail as the tyrants proceed, load the words, aim the lens, expose the brute. The Gaja script raised, lives rendered to dust. You captured their plight, report you must, but the question lies in the rubble and the rust. Simply their stories being told answers whether it was just. In the end, it's not the bodies that sprawl, but the world's consciousness that hangs upon the final call. How many scribes must be offered upon the altar of truth as the echo resounds? Load the words and aim the lens as the tyrants pray. We run out of the brave souls they want mute. Thank you. Second one. This one's called Fucking Muppet. And this one was inspired when I heard the Pentagon files were released and all the journalists were just like, oh my God, who's going to protect us from all this information? Like it's almost like it's almost like a clown show at these press meetings nowadays. Like I said, fucking Muppet. After all these years, I finally got my press credentials. It's funny though, it's not the people, but the White House tells me what's essential. I had questions about the war, but they said don't bring up things that could be influential. I had questions about leaked documents, but they said don't bring up things that are confidential. I had questions about our failing infrastructure, but they said another Flint, Michigan would be too monumental. I had questions about corruption, they said keeping order was too instrumental. I had questions about the lack of affordable housing, but they said BlackRock will handle residential. I had questions about wealthy pedophiles, but they said don't be so judgmental. So I sit there like Kermit and ask, well, what can I ask? I'm a fucking Muppet now. A corrupt system sticking its hand up my ass. Check if there were kids out there. Sorry about that one. Alright. Last one. That's another untitled. I will it so, the truth will be told. I carefully craft the words for the story to unfold. I pick up my pen, brave, enlightened voices of the bold. I pick up my pen, piercing through the lies corporations once sold. I pick up my pen, leading the charge against the corrupt and the cruel. I pick up my pen, uniting the voices divided, previous pawns crystallized together as jewels. I pick up my pen, no care packages for teachers, but weapons for tyrants to rule. I pick up my phone, I smile at the death threats from a well-mannered, fancy-dressed ghoul. I put down my phone, I foresee the path of destruction, and I remain cool. I pick up my pen as I lay the last words upon the page. I know against society's grandest vice, truth's seeds I shall sow, because we shall all reap the most reliable pattern embedded in the soul. Thank you.
Thank you, Sleepy. We're just going to get this thing moving along. We have our next speaker, Dave Ashton. Welcome, Dave Ashton.
Okay. Why me? Well, my name's Dave Ashton. I'm the Denver program manager at KGNU Community Radio. It's already more than I've expected. So what is KGNU Community Radio? It came together in the late 70s, went on the air in 1978 as a grassroots gathering of really the community, the citizens of Boulder, to occupy a space on the FM dial, which the regents of CU Boulder decided was going to be a little too much freedom of speech for those crazy 70s kids on campus. In a last-minute vote, they turned down 88.5 in that asset, and the people ended up picking it up. Those people had the wherewithal and the knowledge to do that because of a free university. You guys remember the free universities? They had one in Boulder, they had one in Denver. Went on until the late 80s. We don't have that now, right? We just have like free internet and Wi-Fi in some places, and that's going to be your education. But so KGNU, where David Barsamian's alternative radio program is rooted and comes out of, let's give it up for David. before I knew anything about this, I saw David on Manufacturing Consent in the 90s when it was like the punk rock Bible with Noam Chomsky. But, you know, and those videotapes were passed hand to hand, right? So like this whole media story has totally just blown out of control now. The ability to share information is really making information itself much less valuable. So it is kind of curious that the powers that be even believe that state secrets can exist or can put them in any danger, that anyone will care in a large enough number for them to actually like not vote for somebody or form a third party somehow. I find it curious that they go to these lengths to repress this, because clearly the masses are not prepared or in any way groomed to respond in ways that will like protect the humanity of people overseas. So what are we supposed to do? Well, I guess, you know, trying to get the truth out there, obviously it's important because there's always the narrative and then there's the evidence. And people are going to deal with those two things, right? Like I have a friend who's, you know, wants to call Israeli bombing of Palestine a war, but then he's able to see the footage of targeted strikes on hospitals and say, well, obviously that wasn't an errant like mortar shell like we can buy in Wyoming. You know, clearly this is a targeted helicopter strike. He can watch the video and he goes, yeah, they're blowing up hospitals. I can see that with my own eyes. So, I mean, there is that ability, right, for now better information to get out there. I mean, this is almost 150 journalists killed in Palestine. Each and every one of those people had been communicating to another group, smaller, larger, we don't know the scale, of what's really happening there. And so that democratization is important, right? The reason that I'm probably the only person from the media here, other than my esteemed colleague David, why KGNU is the only entity here, is because those other mainstream media platforms, like, they don't need their freedom of speech. They don't need real information. This was seen in the March to War with the weapons of mass destruction narrative just being pumped nightly through the net, you know, before the internet information explosion. And there was really no accountability for that. There was really no research that went into it. It reorganized our entire society, and it laid bare the way that corporate ownership of media, corporate ownership of the war elements, like, yeah, the people pay for a lot of this, but a whole lot of it is also privatized. And we know this in Colorado. We have a tremendous war industry throughout. So when those dollars are not only like putting together the reasoning for all this violence, plus the infrastructure, the weaponry, the ammunition to make it happen, like we're kind of collateral damage to it as well. Our own ability for critical thinking, our own, like, do we matter in this conversation at all? I mean, voter turnout is so low, not just of like people eligible to vote, but also those disenfranchised from the vote, but then also like all of the statistics and information that comes out of who does vote and why. I just have to say that, like, you know, Julian Assange, he's looking to be a martyr and to join the many, many martyrs that we have for this idea that information is real, that documentation can be shown and actually change people's minds about something, and that if their minds are changed, then their behavior can change, then they can change the system. So, you know, I want to be hopeful that Julian can get justice, because if he does not, then our entire industry is transformed in a way that we won't know until it impacts each of us, until somebody crosses that line with some powerful interest that doesn't want certain proof about certain things coming out. So, you know, the wild thing, I mean, you would hope that a martyr would have the support of the people for whom that individual is falling on the sword, as the incredible seppuku poem was read, right? The ritual gutting, and you just let it pile out. But they're not gonna care. it's only going to be a few of us, and those of us that really understand this importance of real information and being able to document all of these abuses. So thank you guys for caring. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting Julian. Thanks for inviting me. And grab a pocket schedule for KGNU. For me, you know, we're here to be the people's mouthpiece. So let's just keep talking.
And that's incredible. Thank you. Very important point. I started organizing about a year ago, and I started organizing with the understanding that every single person that was doing media and politics were corrupt, and nothing mattered outside of that. And I think that there's a very important point there here being made by the presidents, and I think we need to realize how important that is when there are glitches in the system. And when it comes down to it, I've met a few glitches in the system that make me very hopeful. And Dave, you're most certainly one. Thank you. Now, when it comes next up, we have another performance, and these guys are very close and dear to my heart. They've been very good friends of mine for a while, and I'll go ahead and let them take the stage now. I'm introducing you guys to Spiderland. Spiderland.
I'm just gonna do a quick sound check real quick and make sure it's coming out at equal level. So far, nothing. Hold on. There we go. Okay.
Check.
Can you hear the music? Turn it up a little bit, and we'll bring it back if we need to. Yeah, we're just gonna share the mic, I think. Yeah, we like the vocal mics. Anyways, guys, this is my lovely wife Marie. We do a group called Spiderland together. We wrote this song about 3 years back, coming out of the 2020 year, and it's called "Life Is Beautiful, Ugly, and Wasting Money." We hope you like it. It isn't easy, but right now it's important to stay focused. Let it marinate for minutes. I'm back to feeling hopeless. My motivation skates on edges of the dopest music. Yeah, that music makes my day. Have you heard this? Life's a beautiful, cold and equally as ugly. Lots of wasting money. I'm afraid I won't have any friends if I give all my time to funding something that's a lost cause. Man, this really ain't my fault.
All my friends now, we just came from hell. There's a smart city trying to murder me. It's a mad disease. Where are all my friends now? We just came from hell. There's a smart city trying to murder me. It's a mad disease. Where are
Jersey is narcissism, technocratic narcissism, pusillanimous virtue signals, all the woke kids buying guns, fake progressives think they're punk, it's your right to hold your tongue. I don't mean to offend, but I get the center in altruistic fraud. I don't trust big tech or AI, Gates investments make me suspicious, big money, I know it ain't mine, all my friends are on the same side, fake progressives hold their tongue, honestly I hope I'm wrong, big money, I know it ain't mine, all my friends are on the same side. Track cut out, y'all. You want to do the chorus one more time? It ain't easy out there. Thanks, y'all. Give it up for Marie over here. I am to introduce the next, that goes back to Mike, actually. I apologize for not knowing you all more, because I would give you a little bit more of a, cue up on when it's time to come up and speak. But from what I have here in my hand, it looks like next up we have Galen Kent as a speaker. You're all set right there.
Hello friends, my name's Galen Kent. I'm a Libertarian Party candidate for Congress from the 2nd District this year. Thank you. In the past, I've carried the LP banner in races for the United States Senate and twice for the U.S. House in the 3rd District. I live in Hayton, Colorado, and it's a privilege to be here today. Keeping the earlier theme, I say Galen, you say for Congress. Galen! For Congress! Galen! For Congress! Thank you. Jacob stole the theme I was going to talk about today, and that is courage. There's two types of courage. There's great courage and there's everyday courage. Julian showed great courage. It is a product of nature and circumstance. It was in him to show great courage, and he had the circumstance come about to do that. We are the better for it. He, unfortunately, is not. It took courage to be here today because it takes courage to buck the system. It takes courage to not fit into the slots others want us to fit into. So kudos for having courage today. Let's show that courage tomorrow. Let's tell a friend. Let's bring a friend to the next Julian. I keep odd hours. I've been up for a very long time. To the next Julian gathering. Take him to the next protest you go to. If it's in your blood, run for office. If it's not, that's okay too. Vote on election day. Let's keep showing courage every day, because a little courage is like a drop of water. You get a couple of drops of water, next thing you have a stream, next thing you know you have a river, next thing you know you have a tidal wave. Thank you for letting me speak. It was a privilege. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Galen. Next up, well, actually, you know what? How about another chant? Let's get this chant going. How about this? I say free, you guys say Assange. Free! Assange! Free! Assange! Free! Assange! Okay, I say free, you guys say press. Free! Press! Free! Press! Free! Press! Say burn down. No, I'm joking. All right. Now, guys, next up, we have Carolyn. Carolyn's a performer and a poet. Always sweet when I meet her. Carolyn.
Hey, everybody. Is there truth in this spot right here, right now? Is there truth right here now? Because this is like putting a stone in the pond and then the ripple effect. I haven't seen Frank Sturgill in 10 years. Here he is. He saw this shit on X. You keep posting, you keep doing what you gotta do, okay? Here we go. Soft tyranny, instrumental use of mind control. Slowly, stitch by stitch sews the mouth of those of us who question, who resist, those of us who choose to live. His detention, exile, silence cost us, all of us, everything. Enter the mind cage, get in there. Free Assange.
He's gonna speak. Okay, performance turned speaker up next. I did just want to, what did I want to say? Maybe I'll save it for after him. This is a good friend of mine. This is gonna be Henry Bros Rowland coming up and saying a few words. Give it up for him.
Thank you all. This is going to be very, very short and sweet. I was going to do some guitar and stuff, but we had some sound problems, and it's just too technically unfeasible right now to do that. And I also don't think the songs I was going to perform are quite right for the audience, so I thought I would just say a few words. I just have a question. Does anybody out here know who Mike Benz is? Okay, a couple of nods. You all know who Tucker Carlson is, and maybe a lot of you don't like Tucker, and I know he's kind of a mixed bag, but he did an interview with a guy named Mike Benz a few days ago, and I encourage everybody to go watch this interview. Tucker does very little talking in this interview because he's just blown away by the information that this fellow Mike Benz is giving him. And who Mike Benz is a fellow who has been researching and involved in the freedom of speech movement for 20 odd years. And I don't know, this guy has a brain on him that's just phenomenal, because in this interview, he just freestyles, talks, and he knows names, he knows dates, he gives you the blow-by-blow of the corruption of the media system and the explanation of how it has come about. And he tracks it back through the CIA, through all these various organizations of the government, and it's uncanny. And the reason I'm talking about it and encouraging you guys to go and listen to this interview is because when I heard it and when I understood what all was in play, it completely blew my mind, and it gave me a different way of thinking of how I might approach this problem in the future. I think sometimes it's really important to understand how things work, because for the most part, we act out and we do things on the basis of our assumptions. And one of our big assumptions of everything is that we have a functioning government, and that we have a functioning Congress and presidency and media, that we have some kind of handle on it, and that if we go through the ordinary channels, we'll be able to change things. And what Benz is pointing out is that the landscape is shifting and has shifted. And so it's very important for us to know what is the new beast, the new animal that we're up against, the new enemy, so to speak, which it turns out is our own government, okay? And so if we know what we're up against, we will have a better sense of who we need to talk to, of how we need to talk to them, how we can hold people accountable. Because at the end of the day, we're going to have to go way back to the very basis of this whole thing, which is the United States Constitution, right? We're going to have to go back to the principles of freedom of speech, and we're going to have to be able to converse eloquently to our representatives, and in a way that we say to them, look guys, if you don't fucking honor your commitment to what you signed an oath to defend the United States Constitution, we are not going to vote for you. And we know who the fuck you are. Oh, yeah. We know who you are, and you're not getting away with it anymore. This is bullshit. And if you don't do it, and so, you know, like for example, one little thing I want to do in the future is I want to get a big chart of all these representatives, and I want to have a chart that says, this guy is not honoring his commitment. This guy is not honoring it. There is no reason that these people should be put back in power for another term if they're not honoring what they are supposed to be doing for the people of the United States. So, 2 things, y'all. Please go watch that interview. It will give you so much powerful information. It's very, very important. And then when we reconvene, we'll be on a different level. I guarantee it. That's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Those little pieces of information are really important, guys. When someone sticks their neck out and they really, really try. Julian Assange is setting the precedent, but there are people out there that we really do need to look at and really, really take account for. And another thing I like is the idea of putting these guys up on Front Street, right? I hear that apparently there are entities out there that bribe the media not to report on certain things. Surprise, right? Having these guys out on Front Street, how to expose them, what to do to expose them. Let's pay attention. Let's pay attention to how to do that and how to do that the best ways, because there are still ways to do that. There are very much ways to get around and expose the system. And if we pay a close enough attention, what we can see exactly what they don't want to happen. Now, up next, we have another performance. This is Jessica Fensky, speaker. Speaker, I'm sorry, this is a speaker. Jessica.
Thank you. And I'm actually a terrible public speaker, but I'm here now. Let's give it up for Kendra and all the organizers again. It's so much work doing all of this, and sadly for as long as y'all have had to do it, because Julian's still in jail. Whew. So why are we here? We're for Julian and for free speech. And as you said, where's the press? Julian is in jail and has been in jail for over a decade now for the press, and they don't show up. Even last year when I was here, I think we had one person show up who, it ends up they work for the mainstream media anyways. So, whew. Yeah, last year or was it last year? It was like March or April-ish. I made a really dumb decision to run for city council in Arvada. It was the worst, best experience of my life. I learned so much. And just showing up and learning, like what you guys are doing here, show up, this is more than most people do. When you talk about local politics to most people, their face glazes over. They want to bring up Trump, and you're like, can we just focus on what's going on right here? And I don't know if you guys know, they're going to try and pass a bill here that's going to make it more expensive to get records, and it's going to make it harder for the regular everyday people to get records. They just keep pushing. They keep pushing for all of this to happen. So just a quick message from me would be, I don't really like the government at all, but if we can all try to get in once in a while for these little local places. I lost, by the way, obviously, but I did really good for being a nobody. Kind of when you run on the, I hate the government thing, the government doesn't want you in there, so. But it was actually really fun, and it was fun to stand in front of people and say, the government ain't shit, y'all, so, and they liked it, but they didn't vote me in. But, yeah, there's lots of positions people can run in, city council, school boards. We have special districts out here, HOAs, anything. Get in and just expose them. That's what needs to happen. And even showing up down here to speak on bills, or just listening online to when people are coming and testifying on these bills. First of all, these bills are written so ridiculously, and every single bill is more power for the government. It's always more power for the government. So that's a little message I want to spread. And another thing is citizens journalism. We all need to be out there more. I mean, even this week, the journalists on Twitter were going nuts at someone who's all they do is show videos of the homeless people in Denver, and the journalists in Denver were yelling at him for it. It's like, what's wrong with exposing? What's wrong with highlighting the issues? And the mainstream journalists aren't doing it. They're too busy like trying to dox people online and threaten people and intimidate people, which is what happened to me last year. It only made me worse, but that's what I like to do. So yeah, keep reporting on issues, keep like spreading the word when you come down here and see things, and show up as much as you can. And that's all. Thank you.
That's so true, isn't it? You got these the press is just the free speech police, or the censorers, and when did that become so popular? I don't know. I was very faded for many of these years that they happened, unfortunately, but you know, awakening comes for everybody when it comes. You know, and I do want to speak on that really quickly. You know, there is a trend that you know, free speech isn't a very popular thing, and why is that? You know, a lot of people claim there's hate speech needs to be silenced, and that is the answer to stop speech altogether. But the real true answer to hate speech is more free speech. Let's get to the bottom of it. We continue the conversation, we get to the bottom of it. It's not to silence your opposition. It's that self-projecting situation where you look weaker when you do something like that. This is gonna segue into something. Oh yeah, one last thing. I mean, obviously on the global scale, look at who they censor. When the government's allowed to say who gets to speak and who doesn't, look at who they censor. Is this true? Is Mike Chappelle back up? I got Mike Chappelle back up for another song, and we'll have a couple more songs, couple more speakers here.
I have no idea. The sound is all not what we thought it was going to be. Let me first say, the first song I did, I do that with, I'm in a band called Roller Coaster. I neglected to mention that. Henry Rowland is my writing partner. We were working all week. He's sitting right over there. We were working all week splicing those bits together. And I'll tell you, just working on it, just listening to it, just really deepening your understanding of who said what and when they said it and all that stuff, it just gets right to you. And we all can do that, I think. And I guess we all are in the process of doing that. That's why we're here. And I'm going to make sure this thing works. Just a little. All right, so I think it is going to work, at least for a little while. Well, on second thought, on third thought, on this earth, the biggest prison, Gaza cage, 2.3 million. Israel plants seeds of its own destruction with displacement, replacement of the indigenous population. How much do you have to see before you find your tongue to speak? Zionists on the rampage, shooting prisoners in the cage. Black Gate Siege enforced starvation. It's not war, it's annihilation. They're mowing the lawn in Gaza. They're mowing the lawn in Gaza. Open your eyes. Israel's gone full genocide. Bombing schools, hospitals, doing the unthinkable. The lesser evil can stop it all. Biden ends it with just a phone call. They're mowing the lawn in Gaza. They're mowing the lawn in Gaza. Western liberals, sluts for war, exposing themselves for the frauds they are. Joseph Biden, you can't hide. We charge you with genocide. Defenseless targets, pounded to dust. Kids dodging, snipers' bullets, American bombs. There's nowhere to run. Lights in Gaza going out one by one. They're mowing the lawn in Gaza. They're mowing the lawn. Greater Israel, cities level, children buried beneath the rubble. All those girls, young school boys, mothers hugging dead babies' toys. They're mowing the lawn in Gaza. They're mowing the lawn. True believers saying enough's enough. Spectators crying, what the fuck? What the fuck? Business as usual, unlivable conditions. They won't leave. You have to kill them. They know once they go, they can't go back. Zionists wiping Gaza off the map. They're mowing the lawn. Housing demolition, land surveillance, agorisms, nitrogen visions, water cannons, high-tech systems. Where do dictators buy their weapons, tank, aircraft, Uzi guns, battle, test their children? Israel's right. That's it. No, that's not it. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, let's give it up for all the wonderful speakers and performers that we've had today. It's been really heartfelt and awesome. We do have a couple more left still, but just in the interim here, I think everybody has noticed the signs that we have over there. And then we also have every single flag represents somebody who, a journalist who has lost their life, who was murdered and targeted in this most recent basically that has shown that it's a genocide that's going on in Gaza, what Mike was just talking about here. So one of the things that we do have is we wanted to just have a memorial here, a little memorial for them. So we've got some candles that if everybody could join us, Judy's gonna go grab them real quick. And if everybody could help us just place them in front of the flags, we would like to do that. But while Judy gets the candles, if we could all just sit here and have a minute of silence, please, for the journalists who have lost their lives in Gaza. And thank you all for being here. Hopefully we can save Julian's life.